Okay, so as you can probably hear from the road noise around me and trees flowing by my windows, I am currently on a road trip, a couple-hour road trip actually, to pick up some retro computers that the only way I can describe this entire trip is an insane amount of luck. So to quote Lightning McQueen, which my kid's gonna love that reference in the future, I'm going to pick up some retro computers. And when I say luck, I mean it was literally a kind of a throwaway comment on a Facebook post, not with my YouTube channel's Facebook page, but with my personal one. And it resulted in this guy getting a hold of me, and basically he has a bunch of Apple stuff that he would like to go to a good home. And when I told him that, and then when I basically told him, hey, I also have a YouTube channel where I collect and restore these things on the channel, he was really happy because he wanted to get these things into good hands and to a good home, which I was more than happy to oblige. So yeah, it's this road trip. So yeah, and if and the pictures he sent, I will say real quick, this is going to be hands down one of the coolest retro haul road trips I've ever taken. Most of them have been like 20-30 minutes, like Goodwills or maybe an estate sale nearby, and there's really not much there except for maybe an old like Pentium tower. But this is definitely going to be one of the coolest retro hauls, and especially with one computer that's in this lot. Yeah, a couple hour road trip for some neat old retro computers. Yeah, so I'm gonna record as much as I can, not just me talking for this vlog, but also some really pretty scenery and stuff of my home state of Iowa, because it's late fall right now, and everything's all the leaves fall off the trees, so it's not that pretty, but it's all like tans and shades of brown, the prairies, and it's actually really pretty. So sightseeing, if anything. So yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna record me actually meeting him. That's going to be up to him. So if you don't see any of that footage, then he opted not to, or I just respected him that I didn't record it. So yeah, let's just get to the road trip. I will admit this is a lot different, like I said before, a lot different than any road trip I've usually taken. Like I said, usually they're closer, like estate sales and things, and they're Goodwills or thrift stores or hobby stores and that kind of stuff to find things. So me taking a multi-hour road trip for this stuff is a lot different. Because I know, like, I have yet to go to VCF Midwest. It's a road trip I really want to take. I know there are YouTubers like LGR and 8-Bit Guy and Usagi, Tech Tangents. They probably, you know, the idea of a multi-hour road trip to save retro computers is probably, you know, a Sunday morning for them. But this is a little bit different for me. I don't mind driving. I don't. I'm actually really good on road trips and stuff. It's just I don't usually take them for the channel. So it's kind of different. Oh God, this is it's too much. So I'm a little overwhelmed right now. I'm on my way back from meeting up with this gentleman. During this little road trip, and I didn't even think to record anything with this guy, because as soon as he started talking, I kind of slipped my mind, and I really wish I would have, because yeah, It's a little bit overwhelming, and not from the sheer amount of stuff. There realistically isn't a lot in terms of quantity, which that's not the point of this trip. The trip was just for retro computer stuff. Quantity doesn't matter in any regard. It's saving old computers from being thrown in the dumpster. And that's what he was afraid could have happened if anything happened to him. He passed away or whatever, and his family just, that kind of stuff. But no, what is overwhelming is some of the provenance with this stuff that he had. So I have, as you can probably see, there's a computer right behind my passenger seat. There's two behind me in my driver's seat. There's boxes of software, floppies. There's tech manuals, all this kind of neat stuff. There's a box up here with some PCB and cables I need to go through as well. So it's not the amount of stuff that's overwhelming. What's overwhelming and has me all sorts of about this, it's like I said, the provenance. We got to talking, and I kind of asked him where he got this stuff, and I was just assuming, retiree, he bought this stuff, used it, and then put it in his basement and forgot about it. Turns out this gentleman worked at a computer shop until Apple bought the company out. He worked for Apple back in the day. He helped design the keyboards for the Apple II line. I believe he said he helped design the encoder boards for the Apple II line. Not only that, but apparently he said he was involved with some of the prototyping for the Macintosh, the original Macintosh, and the Lisa, which is just so cool that I met somebody that has a real connection to Apple, like in any capacity. This would be kind of like meeting anybody who worked on like Commodore back in the day, or worked at Dell or Gateway way back. It's just a cool piece of provenance. And apparently he retired right before the Lisa was launched. Either the Lisa or the Mac. I don't fully remember which way he said it. He retired before then, like 84, 85. And I was like, man, that's actually really freaking cool, because, just the fact that I'm meeting up with somebody who worked basically for Apple in such a way. And then he dropped the hammer and said, well, I don't know if it's actually in there or not, but there's a possibility that some of the floppies that are in the boxes might have prototype Mac and Lisa stuff. He doesn't know if it's any good because it's been in storage for decades, but the fact that there actually might be prototype software or something regarding those two iconic machines is overwhelming, especially for some idiot that does this for a hobby on a fairly small YouTube channel. This is so I'm gonna go home and decompress for a second while I get this stuff put into storage, or at least put down in my basement, and make a video to show everything that's here, because this is too cool not to. This is hands down the coolest road trip and retro haul I've taken so far. Okay, as you can see on my very cluttered desk, you can see why I am completely overwhelmed with the sheer quality of this retro haul road trip I took. But yeah, as you can see, there's some very cool, interesting stuff here. I'm gonna go through all of this here in this video in a little bit more detail than I did in the last Apple II haul. But as you can imagine, I have been just eager to get going on this. This has all been sitting in this room for the past like almost 4 or 5 days, and I've just been eager to get to it. But there was some other stuff ahead of it I wanted to get done, which was the stuff in the computer room. But yes, as you can see, there's some really neat stuff here. And yes, you are seeing this correctly. This is a Apple III computer, something that I never thought I would ever come across, just because of how somewhat rare they are. So I'm going to be going through all of this here in a little bit more detail and stuff. So let's just get started with this, because there's a lot of stuff here. Okay, so first off, there's a bunch of books here and documentation and stuff. We got the instruction manual for Merlin, which I believe is a assembler of some kind, I believe. I actually have no idea. Hands-on approach for Apple Pascal. The Apple IIe Programmer's Reference Guide with a bunch of information of how to do like programming on the Apple II, like for graphics and just software in general. Like so you can make games and stuff from read through this apparently. The DOS Talk Scrapbook. Yeah, make DOS more effective whether you have the Apple II, 2 Plus, 2E, or 2C. Copy 2 Plus, how to use it. We have an Apple II reference manual which is pretty interesting because an original Apple II did not come with this. We have a Beagle Bros, it's like a software like folder or something. We have Apple Business Basic Volume 1 and Volume 2 for the Apple III, the Apple II DOS manual, still sealed Apple III standard device drivers and manual, and the Apple III owner's guide. I'll be honest, I kind of want to get these in the hands of somebody who would better appreciate these. We have the Apple II AppleSoft Basic Programming Reference Manual, the AppleSoft tutorial, which is completely different, I guess, but this I think actually came with the Apple II. Another copy of Manual Business Basic Volume 2 and Volume 1. Another copy of Standard Device Drivers. You kind of understand why I said the sealed stuff I want to get to somebody who could better use it. Another copy of DOS Manual. Another copy of the Apple III Owner's Guide. Picture book for the computer novice, how to use your Apple computer. The Thunderclock Plus installation and operator's guide, which a little Apple Disc 2 disc guide, which is kind of funny because it's actually in the size and shape of a floppy disk. The Modem 300/1200 user's guide. The ProDOS supplement for the Apple IIe owner's manual. I think I already have this with the last Apple II haul. And the Part 2 guide to the Apple II user's manual for the modem. The modems are pretty well useless nowadays, but still pretty neat to have some documentation. All right, now I have some binders here, and there's a couple more binders out in the trunk of my car. I just didn't bring them in because the box fell apart. We have systems maintenance manuals, and these are so cool. And I wish I was and I'm not being sarcastic with that either, because these are like schematics for the Apple II, the main logic, the Apple IIe CPU schematic, the 2 Plus schematic, even the Apple III schematics, which is really interesting. I have another binder full of the same stuff. This one just says Apple Schizzos. All these are schematics. Apple IIe, 3 logic mainboard, 3 main logic, 80 column 64K expansion card schematic, which is just really cool because they all have this proprietary product stamp on it, which is like, this is a cool piece. This is so cool. It's an amazing part of Apple, to Providence here. No idea what I'm going to do with those yet, but I'll find a use for them later. This might be something I get into the hands of somebody who would actually better be able to utilize these, because I think all this stuff's already on the internet anyway, but still. We have another binder full of just, not schematics, a whole owner's and user's guide for Beagle Bros stuff. Apple Mechanic, Frame Up, Fat Cat. Like, this is kind of cool. Like, the guy that had all this, he did a lot of stuff with the Apple II and III, so it's not surprising he has these things, but like, these are like Apple service manual, like documentation that would be in like a repair shop. This stuff's actually really cool. Oh, I have no idea what I'm going to do with this stuff. It's actually a really neat part of Apple history and like information, because this stuff's available online, but to see hard copy of this stuff is super neat. You don't see this stuff anymore because a lot of the stuff got tossed. So while I'm here, I might as well look into this. This is something really, really special. And it doesn't seem special all at first until I open it up and show you what the gentleman said made this one very special. It's actually what makes it very rare too, which I I almost don't like having something this rare in general in my collection, but it's in my collection, so I couldn't turn it down. So as at first appearance, yes, this is an Apple Imagewriter 1, which, that's what's in the box. But it's not what's in the box specifically that makes this rare. And it needs cleaned up. But it needs cleaned up. But what makes this thing so rare is actually something that was added to this later on. And it's a very nice little Imagewriter printer. Looks very well intact. It just needs a little cleaned up. But this is going to be something that I will never, ever retrobrite, because I have no idea if I'm going to damage something on this. But it has the black ribbon. We don't have any of the add-ons, none of the Apple Talk add-ons, RAM add-ons. But what makes this one so special is this. if you can see it, and I'll get a better picture of it here later on, there's a silk screening right here that says, "Thanks to you, Accessory Products Group, 1984." This was basically, from what the guy told me, only given to Apple employees. I think he said it like some sort of an event that was only for Apple employees. It was like a gift of things that were given out to Apple employees. So this silk screening makes this Apple Imagewriter extremely, extremely rare. Because not obviously not many of them would have that, because these only were given to Apple employees that were, I think, physically there at that event. So yeah, this is like, I'm actually like afraid to have this in my collection. I'll be honest with you, but I'm gonna see if I can get it to work, because he said he doesn't remember if it works or not anymore. But yeah, we're going to be seeing if we can get this one working and hook this up to an Apple II Plus, or my Apple IIe, which we'll come to that here in a second. But for right now, I'm gonna get this back in the box, because I'm not gonna mess with it right now. In the box was even this beige power cable that's even Apple branded, so you know it's for it. Up next is, yes, the iconic failure of Apple that was the Apple III. And I'll get some close-up shots because it is actually very nasty, very yellowed. Keys are very yellowed. The Apple logo is actually starting to chip off with some corrosion, it looks like. There's some definite corrosion on the bottom of the board. There's some screws missing. So yeah, this is going to be a very fun restoration project. I have no idea if it works. I'm way out of my depth of field with this at all. And unfortunately, it doesn't have the monitor, but I will come back to that later, because the gentleman mentioned something about that. So both hesitant and excited to have this in my collection, because like I said, it's not something I ever wanted to search for, because I knew it was to track one down was going to be nigh on impossible. And yet, out of a stroke of luck, I happened to pick one up. So yeah, this is going to be, and I'm not going to start this restoration anytime soon. I will say though, I don't have to tear this apart anytime soon, because this one does not have the battery. This is not an early Model 3. This is actually the Model 3 from the gentleman said that came out right before the 3 Plus. It's fully maxed out to 256K of RAM. In fact, I believe he said this one might actually have 512K of RAM, which he doesn't remember. He remembers doing that to at least one machine. He doesn't know if it was this one or if it was, well, one for Apple for testing stuff. I have no idea. He didn't fully say, I don't think, but yeah, I'm hesitant and eager to crack into this thing, because if it works, it's going to need a lot of work to get working, because these things are just known for being very unreliable. So next up, we have hundreds of floppies. These are both full. This is at least halfway full of floppies that I need to go through and sort. I sorted the ones from the last Apple II haul, which was just a bunch of Apple work stuff, but this is completely different, because this guy worked at a computer shop, so there's probably a lot of diagnostic stuff and such in here. Plus, he says he doesn't remember if these floppy boxes had the prototype Mac and Lisa stuff. He doesn't know. Like I said, it might not, so I'm not going to get too excited about it. But I am going to go through this here in a bit and kind of see what's all in here and organize it a little bit. So, because he said he just kind of threw them in here, because he said most of these floppies were in a binder in those individual plastic sleeves, and he said he took them all out and put them in the boxes for storage, I guess. And yeah. And up next is an Apple IIe, which, as you can see, is I do not mean to make that rhyme. Anyway, as you can see, there's an Apple IIe, and as you can tell, it's a very early model of the IIe, because it uses the same lid style as the 2 and 2 Plus. Plus, it has an older style keyboard, which feels a little, it doesn't feel all that great. Plus, it has an Apple logo right here instead of just a plain, light up thing. It has the older style power supply. In fact, the power supply connector is actually perpendicular instead of parallel with the slots. And funnily enough, it's copyrighted 1982 from with a build date of 1983. So this is actually super cool. In fact, that means this is a painted case, which is why it's not nearly as yellowed as I would expect. But it's going to need a lot of work. And I'm just now seeing this kind of stuff. So we have a super serial card. We have a Thunder Clock, and unfortunately, the batteries have leaked. And as you can probably see, there's a lot of corrosion. In fact, the slot it was in, slot 4, is full of blue fuzz. I'm pretty sure this card is never going to work again. In fact, this motherboard might not ever work again. That's going to be it's going to need to be majorly restored. The next card is no corrosion on it, luckily, but it's a mouse card. From my interesting. Ooh, I wonder if there's a mouse somewhere in that other box. And then next, it's got 2 cables coming off it like a Disc 2 controller, but they're hardwired. It's a very rough looking PCB too. Some sort of disc controller card. Bunch of diodes, bunch of resistors. I don't know what this is, but it's in slot 6, like a disc controller. So who knows? But yeah, this one's going to need a lot of work. I can tell that he's done some work to it though, because this does have the 65CO2 instead of the 6502. And the video ROM says new video ROM 2732A. CD-ROM says 304 unmod CD-ROM. And then 303 EF-ROM new code. It's also got a weird ribbon cable off the numeric keypad. Like a 19 pin or something. That's unusual. I don't know. Keyboard's also disconnected. So yeah, this is 2E. It's extremely rough. We'll have to do some digging and see if we can get this thing to work in the future. I might have to, I don't want to say I'm going to crack into this restoration right away, but I do at least want to get this torn apart and get the board soaking in vinegar and baking soda. Same with the Thunder Clock, and see if I can salvage this board at all. Because the fact that I have a very early Model 2E on top of the later 2E and the 2E Enhanced is actually just super neat to have in my collection. All right. And the last computer in this very amazing lot is an original Apple IIe. This thing is gorgeous. There's some staining right here, but the keycaps don't even look worn, and they feel a lot different. Like they almost feel like they almost feel like a 2E keyboard, but that's not a 2E keyboard at all. We don't have any expansions on the back, and like my Bell & Howell one, the Velcro straps aren't working. Yeah, that keyboard is different. It's got a blue PCB. Almost feels like a mechanical keyboard. That's strange. I'll have to turn this later. But we have an Apple II Plus with nothing in it. Just like my Bell & Howell unit when I picked it up. It had nothing but the 16K language card, and that's all this one has. From 23rd week of 81. If I remember correctly. I have to go look at my Bell & Howell unit. But I think that's the same as my other one, as that one. So no idea if it works. But yeah, well, it was a 48K system, according to the sticker on the bottom. Serial number 193,867. So 193,867th Apple II Plus. That is a high serial number. Holy crap! No wonder it looks so late. Yeah, there's some corrosion on the video port, so hasn't been used in a while. I can't wait to test this one out and see how it works. Because at least I'd have a working Apple II Plus, since my Bell & Howell unit no longer does. Okay. And now for this box of cables and stuff. Just some cables labeled bad. The numeric keypad for a 2E, which is nice, but it also has this daughter board on it. I'll have to take a picture and see what that's all about. Just says Apple II though. I got a joystick from Mimco. No idea. This thing looks very handmade. Like I can still see the cutting wheel marks and drill marks all over this thing. With 3 buttons. What that's about. And also a stick and paddle. Oh, that's for. Oh, I wonder if you plug that into the motherboard and then you plug a paddle there, so you can be like joystick, paddle. I'm gonna plug that back in so I don't ruin those. We have a 16K language card. Oh, it's got a broken pin. It's damaged. A RamWorks 2 card with 256, so 512K of RAM. This is only for the 2E, I believe. My desk is gonna get very cluttered here. We have a RamWorks 1, 4164, so 128K. Yeah, 128K of RAM. So another RAM card, and this unfortunately is only for the 2E because this doesn't go in any other slot except for the auxiliary slot. So I can't use this in like the 2 Plus or the Bell & Howell unit that I have. Ooh, another super serial card. I actually do not mind having so many super serial cards. I think I totally have like 5 now. This makes number 5. Because they're just superly useful. Like I could have 2 of these in the one computer, one running a printer and one running a modem. Microsoft Soft Card and an original Z80 card with his Zilog Z80A processor. There's just so much here. We have another numpad. This one doesn't have a sticker on it. This one just says sample. So this might be the final revision of it before it was fully released. And it looks like that was like this was all hand cut. What about that other one? Yeah, no, that one's got a like heat shrink and stuff on it. This one I think was, I think he cut this, which I kind of wonder if this was the one that was for that early 2E with that D sub connector. So I wonder if I could repair this. DB25 to DB9 serial cable. That is stupidly useful. That's going into the computer room with the Apple IIe. We have an encoder board, which is a little bit different than what I'm expecting. Made in West Germany. I'll take things you'll never see again for 1,000, Alex. A 9-pin D sub that was cut off of something. An anti-static bag with some cards in it. Oh, Mountain Hardware Apple clock with some sort of weird 9-volt-ish battery that looks like this one started to leak a little bit. I need to cut that one off. It's zip tied to it. Yeah, a bunch of RAM chips. Yeah, it's just like a Thunderclock clone. Same thing, except this one, that battery has a sticker that actually says what's on it. Rechargeable NiCad 7.2 volt battery. Ooh, another encoder board. This one with a cable with the wire on it. And so has the and another encoder board. This one has a second switch on it. I can't believe this. Another encoder board. Ooh. Modified for one-wire shift key mod for MW2. The shift key mod, which is going to be super useful for me to do because the one in my Bell & Howell unit's not great. We have a right angle power cable. Ooh, we have a 9-pin joystick, which is weird because it's Apple branded. I thought the Apple IIs used that dip style, but then again, the 2E uses 9-pin D sub, so who knows. What is this? Taxon RGB cards? RGB2 and RGB2B. I don't have the right monitor for these. Dang it. But that would have been so cool. I'll have to see if I can figure that out later. Ooh, another Apple joystick, but this one has a splitter A and B on it. Why would it need to be split? Yeah, it's got a 9-pin D sub with a splitter on it, but it's another Apple joystick. It's like we have a parts joystick with 2 buttons on it. Oh wait, this one's actually got an Apple logo on it. We have some more cables labeled bad, and they're all 9-pin D sub. We have an Apple cable of some kind. Oh, that is weird. It looks like an Apple serial to parallel. Like, is that what that is? That's a parallel box? Which is kind of weird because the Apple II had a parallel printer card. I should know, I have one from the other one. A hand-drawn PCB with 2 toggle switches and 3 empty dip sockets. Oh, we have another one. This one's more professionally made and different switches. This one actually says J or P on it. Like I say, again, I'm taking pictures of all this stuff when I get done recording this so I can send it to on Discord and stuff. This one's, again, another one of these weird PCBs. PJJ12. Okay, I'm definitely going to ask about this on one of the on Discord. I'm on a Soggy Electrics Discord. And I'm going to ask, take a picture and send this. Another joystick. Oh, this is the older style one. The dip connector, so I can plug it into my Apple II Plus. The Bell & Howell. Heck yeah. So now I have joysticks galore for my Apple IIs. Another little PCB here. Apple II auto repeater. Yeah, it looks like it would go between the encoder board and the keyboard and have it like that way you can actually hold a button down and have it repeat. Another encoder board. So if anything, I have parts to fix my Bell & Howell. Another encoder board. This one again, modified for one wire shift mod for MW2. I'm swimming in encoder boards. But wait, there's more. There's another one. That's a third one now. We have another little PCB. Apple Bunny. I'll need to look that up because there's not as many pins as on the repeater. We have some spare keycaps. Open Apple, closed Apple, reset, and caps lock. We have another one of these 9-pin D-subs that's cut off. I wonder what that's about. Another encoder board. This one's a little bit damaged though. And it looks like this one's different. This one says encoder discrete keyboard, copyright 1979, but it's a little bit different. We have a little baggie here with some used RAM chips. Oh, really? We have 7 MB8264A-10s, 8 4164s. So cool, we got some RAM chips. Bunch of these bracket clamps. So these were, I remember reading about these on the Disk 2 drives when I was looking up some stuff on my Apple II, my Bell & Howell and the 2E. These are basically like clamps that would go around the cable for the 2 Plus especially to keep the cable from being pulled in and out. We have, okay, there's that very weird D-sub to parallel. Yeah. Disk drive cable clamp nut plate installation instructions. Well, unfortunately, the nut plate is not, it's missing the plate, but we have a random door latch for Disk 2. I'm saying Disk 2 because it's all Apple II stuff, but it would fit those drives as well. The SUPR Mod 2. Yeah, this is the RF modulator for the 2 and 2E. Kind of useless, but I think it'd be kind of neat to try it out. At least to kind of show the difference between composite and coaxial. A really, oh my God, really long custom serial cable. Got a broken wire or two, but yeah, it's just a really long serial cable. I use a DV25. Oh, it's an extension cable. Whoa. It's at least what, 10, 15 foot long? Why would you need an extension cable that long? We have a really long pre-made rainbow cable, 26. We have an Apple parallel cable, Apple part number 590-0042-B. Then we have a wooden box with a plug-in and 2 outlets with 2 buttons. I'll take something I'm not going to plug in, like, period. Okay, I'm going to get all this up, put it back in the box, and I'm going to kind of sort through these floppies real quick. Okay, so I took all this stuff upstairs because I realized it's going to take a lot of time. Because not only did I want to kind of sort them out by what they were, or what I thought they were for, but also because I didn't want to spend all that time down here doing it, so I took them all upstairs. So anyway, no, there's no Mac or Lisa stuff in here. It's all Apple II based stuff. No prototype Twiggy, whatever, which is a bit of a bummer, but at the same time, thank God it's not, because I don't want to try and deal with any of that. But anyway, a lot of neat stuff in here, and I kind of sorted out by what I felt was at least close. And obviously a lot of stuff here is because this guy worked at a computer shop and he probably did a lot of diagnostic stuff. So we have, we have CPM, we have ALDS CPM, we have ASCII Express, SMM Transcend, Apple Term, AppleWorks updated for RamWorks use. A bunch of Beagle Bros software, like there's not a whole lot that's authentic Beagle Bros, but it's all like Quick Take, sorted programs, Frame Up, Xtyper, Alpha Plot, Typefaces, Fat Cat ProBiter, Super Apple Works. We got Data Capture 2E for modems, PFS Write. Like basically all of this is PFS Write. And it's all different stuff too. Filer, Report, Sort, Word, Graph Sampler, Personal Computing Magazine, something called Minutemen, Laugh Pack, probably some games, a trial size of PFS with the user's guide. And we can't forget 2 authentic copies of Beagle Bro software, including the sleeves, ProBiter and Apple Mechanic, which is really cool. Nibbles Away program. a disk speed test for the disk 2 and the disk 3. So when I get to restore the Apple 3, if I have any problems with the disk drive, I can use speed test. I think that says A2C diagnostic floppy, or maybe that's just A2E. I don't know. I'll have to, I don't know, get the Apple IIe working fully and try it out. Magic Window, ProDOS assembler tools, a disk alignment tool, and then comes the coolest thing that I found in this floppy lot. I'm glad these are here. The Apple III software. Utilities data, the Apple II emulation, the system demonstration, the systems test, and a copy of the system utility disk. A lot of these were, this one was all like utilities and software and diagnostic stuff. This one I kind of organized into, well, mostly games, but it's all got a bunch of like DOS stuff. An actual copy of Copy 2 Plus, which usually you only find is on like ProDOS discs. Muffin, Locksmith, Omni, SuperDisk copy, bunch of copy programs. And then just so many games. Sea Fox, Castle Wolfenstein, Beyond Wolfenstein, Spy Hunter, Ultima 3, Tapper, Magic Words, Dr. Train Larry Bird, Dazzle Draw, Stargate, Dragon's Eye, Dungeons, Super Dungeons, Cabal Spy, Super Change, Galactic Wars, Serpent Star. There's a game here called Soft Adventure. I'm not going to say what it actually is. I don't want to get demonetized. I don't want to get a strike. But don't worry, it's not the real copy. It's a copy of it, but still, it's a funny, it's kind of a funny type of Apple game. And yeah, but so many games: Robotron, Mummy's Curse, Centipede, Infidel, Draw Poker. And in this little box, I kind of organized what I thought was for the Apple II Plus specific. And even though there's some games in here too, a lot of it was Apple II specific stuff, like Skyfox, Mystery House, because it actually says 32K on it. Adventure, the real Adventure, not the soft one. Shell Games, Apple Bowl 32K, Micro Chess, Blade of Blackpool, Zaxxon, Missing Asteroid. So yeah, a lot of Apple II Plus games that would work on there. Plus, ProDOS version 1, the Apple How-To for the Apple II Plus, PFS 2 Plus, ProDOS Basic, an authentic copy of DOS 3.3, Imagewriter toolkit for the original Imagewriter, which is for the 2 Plus, mouse paint for the 2 Plus, Apple Term for the 2 Plus. I will never need for Apple II software ever again. And the only way I'll need to make floppies is if one of these floppies fails, which I'm going to be taking a lot of the stuff upstairs to start archiving it, because I did find one very, very neat floppy inside of this lot. Miscellaneous programs from Apple Core of San Diego, internal use only. I really want to try this out, but I want to try and archive it first, because apparently the Grease Weasel can do this now. So I'm going to take it upstairs at some point during all this and test it out and see how things go. So like I said, this is so overwhelming. Not only did I find, Apple Core of San Diego floppy, hundreds of floppies, but just, like I said, it's completely overwhelming. So you're probably wondering, geez, what are you going to do with all this Apple II stuff? That's a lot. And not just from this haul, from the previous Apple II haul. That's a total of 5 Apple II computers that I picked up in a 2 or 3 month period. Not to mention the other 2 Apple IIs that I had prior to that, the 2GS and the Bell & Howell unit. So what am I going to be doing? So I'm going to explain it all in chunks and get a game plan going for all this, because this is just, like I said, it's overwhelming. So the first thing is in terms of, software, and I'm including the software I already picked up from that last Apple II lot. I'm going to be going through it and seeing what I have duplicates of and copies of. I don't need 80 copies of AppleWorks. I don't need 80 copies of DOS 3.3. And making sure I have at least a working copy of AppleWorks, DOS, the games, the software, diagnostic utilities, all this stuff. All this stuff's going to be gone through fully. Like I just was kind of upstairs just, oh yeah, diagnostics, productivity, game. I was just sorting through them like that. I'm going to be taking these upstairs at some point, hooking up my Grease Weasel to my Grease Weasel to my laptop, and archiving all of these as .dsk images. I'm pretty sure all of these are archived somewhere. I have no idea about the internal use only floppy though. because, like I said, I want to archive that, and I'm probably going to do that. In fact, I'm actually going to see if I can read the flux image off of it and send it to my friend AJ over at Forgotten Machines, and see what he thinks about it, because it's actually really neat that that somebody that's got come across. Now that's a software deal dealt with, but what about all the computers, the multiple Apple IIs, the Apple III, all that stuff? Well, in order to talk about that, I'm just going to say screw it and drag out all my Apple IIs, because they're all going to be involved with this in the future. Starting with the Bell and Howell unit that I've had for several years, and I've made several videos on, and it has me very irritated. And that's because any longtime viewers of the channel may remember that I've had this thing, again, for about 4 or 5 years now, and it's been a struggle getting this thing to work reliably this entire time. The last time I got this thing fully working, I had to use a combination of the Bell and Howell unit here, the 19-pin disc controller card, that 20-pin disc controller card with the emulator, my 2GS, 80, a bunch of stuff just to get this thing to have the proper boot floppies. It was able to boot DOS-33, and then I made the RAM, the Apple II diagnostics floppy, which was able to test the RAM and tell me exactly what RAM chips were bad. Not only did I have a bad RAM chip in one of the main banks, but I also had a bad RAM chip on the 16K card that I had bought off eBay to get this thing up to 64K. But after that, it did work. Except between then and now, something majorly faulted with it again, and I went to use this to make some floppies for the 2E, the CPM floppy, and the 2E diagnostics floppy, and this thing completely failed, to the point it wouldn't even boot the Apple II Confidence diagnostic floppy, which is meant for the original Apple II, not the 2 Plus, but they're the same unit, so they would both work on it. And that only required 16K, and it wouldn't even boot on this. It would hard lock it, and the disk drive would just spin and spin and spin, and then just headbang and spin and spin. It would never load. I'm going to see if I need to get this one working again. I need to figure out what the heck's going on. But I'm not going to do a video on that. I've done enough videos of the Bell and Howell 2E here with RAM problems and RAM issues. So I'm going to be doing that behind the scenes, unless it's something that's not RAM related, like CPU, ROM chip, one of the supporting TTL logic chips, something. Unless it's something like that, I'm not going to be doing a video on this. I'm going to be doing something behind the scenes. I'm going to be doing whatever I need to get the RAM working on here. And then from there, I have enough encoder boards. I have like half a dozen that I'm going to be seeing what I can do to get this keyboard fully working, because it's had issues ever since I've had it. It won't stay fully connected. I have to like jounce and wiggle the encoder board to get it to type, and it's annoying. Anyway, once I get that fully done, then I'm going to be putting the AV backpack back onto this thing like it's supposed to, because I won't have to open it past that point. I'm going to install the 16K RAM card, obviously, to get 64K, and then a disk controller card so that I can use, well, obviously a disk drive. I have no idea which floppy controller yet. I might use this damaged one that's in there currently. But this one's probably going to be regulated, possibly, I don't know yet, to a display slash show off model. Something that I can use for like showing off on the background of videos, use it once in a while, make sure everything still works on it. Maybe if I decide to go to VCF Midwest as a creator and have a booth, I might take this one with me, because they're kind of neat units to have, and it is kind of a special part of my channel because it's one of the earlier computers I've picked up and restored. So that's the future plan for this one, is to get, with all the stuff I have here, software, hardware, and all that kind of stuff, get it working, back up 64K, install a disk drive. I would like to find a disk 2 floppy drive that I can paint to match this, so that way I have a matching disk drive, not to trick people, but just so it has a matching disk drive, and then a black CRT monitor of some kind, like a small black TV. That way I have an all black Bell and Howell setup. That's what I want to do with this thing, is with everything that's here now, get it fully working. And speaking of Apple II Pluses, this one is going to get a video done to it, because it, well, needs restored. So it's going to be cosmetically cleaned up, take the keyboard apart, clean the keycaps, all that kind of stuff. Blow the dust out of it, clean up the motherboard, get it nice and clean. And also power test it in an upcoming video. Tear the power supply apart, recap it, reef a cap, whatever I may need to, and hopefully it everything works well on it. Because I'll be honest, I kind of would like a working Apple II Plus. I mean, it's kind of silly that I want one working when I have the 2Es, but an Apple II Plus, they're limited. They're limited, more limited than the Apple IIes. They're still just iconic. It's the closest thing to an Apple II I'll probably ever get. This one, though, obviously I'm going to be doing a video on it, but I'm also going to be installing some upgrades to this thing, including a super serial card to run the Imagewriter 1 printer, because that's one thing I want to do in an upcoming video is test that thing. And also the floppy controller, probably the 19-pin one, to run a duo disc on here until I get either disk 2 drives at some point or use that single 5¼ drive. So yeah, this one is getting restoration and upgrade video. Next up, chronologically, anyway, is this behemoth, the Apple III. I will be honest, I have no idea if I'll ever get this one to work. It's not in super bad cosmetic shape. It's just very yellowed and very dirty. But that's not the point I'm worried about. I'm worried about the internals. These things are known for being unreliable, not working. Disk drives are weird. The keyboard's weird. There's just so much that could be wrong with this thing, and I will be out of my depth to fix it. But that's going to be a game plan for some future videos, is tearing this thing apart, retro brighting it, cleaning the keys, getting it scrubbed, getting it looking good. And maybe while we're out apart, we'll see if we can get it working, because I think it would be really neat to see this thing work. Way future stuff. This is going to be one of the later ones, like this is going to be one of the most difficult ones I think I'm going to restore in a very long time. And just because I'm glad I have the software for it. That way I don't have to try and figure out how to make software. I think there is a way to get AD Pro on here, but it involves assembly and monitor language, and I don't know. Anyway, yeah, future project. The game plan for this 2E is going to be soon, because with the corrosion stuff, I want to take care of that as soon as I can. I'm going to be getting this thing torn apart in a video here sometime this winter, just because I want to take care of that corrosion now while I have the chance. So I might actually start tearing it apart between me ending this video and some other stuff going on in the computer room. But yeah, this is a super cool unit because it's an early 2E. Looking at it, it is a revision B. It's not the revision A, which is the very, very, very old and rare one. It's a revision B, but it's still an early revision of the 2E, especially with this case here and the keyboard, the power supply. I think it's missing a foot. No, it's just not very level. So the game plan for this one is, it is missing its top cover. The gentleman didn't have it. He thinks he does, but he's not 100% certain. If he doesn't, I'm going to need to see if I can track down a lid. But anyway, the game plan for this one is tearing this one apart here very soon, cleaning up the shell, cleaning up the keyboard, soaking that motherboard in vinegar and baking soda, and just get all the nasty crud stuff off. Get it all torn apart and torn down. I might de-enhance this, because I think it's had the enhancements. So I want to downgrade this to the original CPU, ROMs, and all that stuff that the original one would have had. With it being as old, being basically the first version of the Apple IIe, I think it'd be really important to have it be, that ROM revision of the 2E. Don't know how that's going to work. I don't know how well that's going to go, but we'll have to see. But yeah, this is going to be something I'm going to tear apart very, very soon to get it started with the restoration, because this is, I don't even know, I don't even know if it's ever going to work again, but it definitely is. I'm going to give it my best shot. This one is more than likely not going to be used unless I can get it to work. It's going to be more of a display piece than anything. If I can get it to work, like the Bell & Howell unit, this will probably go with me if I ever go to a convention or something and have it displayed, because these early 2Es are not super common, and that's kind of neat that I have one picked up here. So yeah, this one's going to be restored very soon just because of the corrosion, and that's the main reason why. Now for these two 2Es, these are the ones I picked up a couple months ago. This is the non-enhanced 2E. This is the enhanced 2E. Pretty straightforward. I don't know if I'm going to be doing a video on this one, because this one doesn't need much. It does work. I'm going to take the power supply apart and recap it. But I think what I'm going to do is, this one's just going to get cosmetically clean the keyboard, clean the spacebar, I think retrobrite the spacebar, whatever I need to. But yeah, get torn apart, blow the dust out of it and all that kind of stuff, redo the power supply. It's not going to need much. It works as it is. In fact, I'm probably going to start using this and deploying it as my go-to to Apple II unit until I get the Bell & Howell or the other 2 Plus dealt with. But I am going to segue into the 2E Enhanced. And what we're going to be doing with the 2E Enhanced is figure out what's going on with this power supply and get the keyboard fixed, probably reglue on the key, dust the motherboard, get them cosmetically cleaned up, the whole 9 yards. This one being enhanced, it would do a lot more stuff versus this one, and it's only by a slight margin on that one. So I think what I'm going to do, have this one be the quote modernized one. This one's going to be getting probably an Ethernet card. We're going to be getting the mouse interface card from the possibly dead one down there, and then get a mouse for it. Basically have this one super serial card connected to a modem, and just have this be a goof around one that I can do for some modern upgrades and components. This one though is going to be again getting the Z80 card and the 64K 80 column card, super serial card hook up to the Imagewriter 2, because this one I'm going to be using for basically gaming, productivity stuff, image print shop stuff, the whole 9 yards, the whole fun stuff. So yeah, it's basically, I haven't fully figured out what I'm going to be doing with these two Apple IIe's yet. It's realistically, I only need one of these. So one of these I might just say screw it and get it cleaned up and put up in storage for just in case, and then have this one be my go-to one that's going to be between the Apple II Plus and the 2GS. Speaking of the 2GS, I'm not dragging that one back out because it's hooked up the way I want it and the way I like it in the computer room. But that one is going to be getting the fully restoration process as well. I need to clean the exterior. I need to put a new battery in it. And that one's also going to be getting a new RAM card and some other stuff. That way I can run a lot more games, because I want to try and run some games on that shouldn't be able to be run, like Wolfenstein, amongst others. And I also want to do some BBSing with that, but unfortunately, I need more RAM than just 1 megabyte of RAM. I kind of experimented a little bit with some hard drive images of System 6, and it lags, or it is so slow with just 1 mega RAM. So yeah, the 2GS, which is still in there, is going to be full restoration battery, all that kind of stuff, upgraded cards. So yeah, with that being said, thank you all so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed this travel vlog slash overwhelming retro computer haul. And like I said, I was just blown away by the fact that this guy used to work for Apple way back in the day, and all this stuff kind of has a little bit of Apple II history. The fact that he worked for Apple. I was completely blown away by this. And to bring up what I mentioned before, he's going to be making another trip up here at some point. He said there's a lot more stuff in his attic, including the Apple III monitor and possibly a couple other Apple II machines and other boxes of software and components and hardware. So all this stuff he had already had pictures of and downstairs out of his attic, because he was trying to offload it, but some people were kicking tires and, we don't have time, I don't have this, I don't have that, blah, 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 whatever. So he was actually really happy to get this into the hands of a collector and someone who's going to restore this stuff. And he said like I said, there's a lot more that he said he's going to be bringing in the future. And honestly, that alone is also overwhelming, because if he even brings a fraction of what he did here, it's going to be an amazing addition to all this. So with that being said, so yeah, I need to get all this stuff organized and put away into the computer room, and then start some other stuff, including the teardown of that really early Apple II. And then yeah, maybe, who knows. So yeah, as you can imagine, a lot more Apple II stuff coming out of the pipeline in the future, very near future, with that damaged 2E. I want to get that taken care of as soon as I can. Even if I don't get it working, I want to get the corrosion taken care of before it gets any worse. But yeah, a lot of stuff here that I'm going to be doing some videos on for the Apple II stuff after I get other stuff up. So be on the lookout for all that. So yeah, if you have any questions or comments about any of this stuff here, or if you know any of the history of the thank you thing on the Imagewriter and can correct me on the rarity of it or that kind of stuff, correct me on anything here from what I said, because I was going off what the gentleman told me, and honestly, I have no doubt of believing him, especially that when he was telling me about half the stuff he was telling me. Put it down in the comments. I would absolutely love to hear about it. If you have any ideas of what I could be doing with all this Apple II stuff, any Order the 3, if you think I should hop on that here soon and get it restored, maybe before any of this other stuff, let me know. Put it down in the comments, because I got a lot of games, software, hardware, and computers in the Apple II line that I now have to deal with. So with that being said, again, thank you all so much for watching this video. And you're going to be really sick and tired of Apple II here pretty soon. Thanks for watching.